Hi everyone, my name is David Scott. I am the Managing Director at Skills for Security and also a qualified fire and security engineer where I passed my apprenticeship back in 2008. One of the interesting facts about me is that I actually am an ex-Skills for Security apprentice, and over the last 2.5 years I've been back as Managing Director, running the company and making sure that we are meeting the demands that the industry require. It means that I'm also extremely passionate about the sector and hope after today's talk there's going to be some proactive discussions around how we can improve your businesses, retain staff and recruit more apprentices for the fire and security sector. In today's talk we're going to cover an overview of who Skills for Security are, why taking on an apprentice is really important right now and absolutely essential for the future of the sector, what it entails, the apprenticeship, and how much it's going to cost you as a business, and finally, some of the more bespoke programs that we can offer you. Skills for Security are the largest fire and security apprenticeship provider in the whole of the UK. We've currently got over 400 live students on our programs, and we've got students enrolled from Dundee in Scotland all the way down to Portsmouth in England and absolutely everywhere in between. Our reach really is like no other, and we tailor the programs for our employers and our learners' needs, and therefore we've got students that are 16 all the way up to 40 enrolled in our apprenticeship programs. We literally skill scan every single apprentice, and we make sure that we identify their strengths and weaknesses and design a program that's fit for purpose for them. Skills for Security are a subsidiary of the British Security Industry Association, and they are the largest trade association and the voice for the professional security sector. And we directly offer membership benefit through the delivery of high quality learning and teaching. The BSIA moving forward play an essential role in shaping the future of our sector, and I would urge everybody out there in all sectors to consider joining. Over the last 2 years, we've been focused on improving our own delivery and growing the business to deliver the highest quality, accessible training. And we've had some fantastic successes. We've managed to grow the business over the last 2.5 years by 4 times. And we've opened centres in Warrington, Birmingham, Mansfield, Oxford and Glasgow. And we're opening an additional site in Watford next month where we're taking on an additional 3,500 square foot, specifically for the purpose of delivering fire and security training. There's been some considerable reasons why we've grown over the last couple of years, but 2 of the main ones is the fact that we've got this accessible model of delivery. We will essentially develop a bespoke program that suits your business's needs. And secondly, all of our staff are full-time employed with 15 years experience in the sector. And through working at Skills for Security, we bring in the engineers and we give them CPD and qualified training to make them full-time qualified teachers. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you the importance of taking on apprentices for your business. There are tons of internal reasons why you may want to recruit for your workforce. Some of these are around staff, making staff feel valued, developing your own workforce, but there's many bigger reasons why taking on an apprentice right now is so very important. I'm sure many of you out there are feeling the current skill shortage which the fire and security sectors are facing right now. We estimate that there's a need for around 30,000 more engineers across both the fire and the security sectors, which, as far as I'm aware, is only getting worse as time goes on. And I'm yet to speak to a company owner or manager that isn't feeling that struggle right now. We're hearing reports throughout the sector that organisations are increasing their usage of subcontracts, where some of the larger organisations are using between 30 and 70% of their work is completed by subcontractors. And that brings its own challenges around a decrease in quality and, of course, an increase in the costs. And a number of our larger contractors are then having to return to site to rectify some of those quality issues anyway. In recent studies, the fire and security sector recruits over 100,000 employees in a range of roles, turning over almost £10 billion per annum. However, there's only 1,200 apprentices recruited in our sector across the whole of the UK. So that's a correlation of about 1% apprentice to engineer. If you then compare it to the likes of the electrical industry, where they have over a 5% ratio of employee to apprentice. So we can see in that research that there's still another 5 times of growth and potential within our sector. And that's why we are aware that there is an absolute need to take on more apprentices within the fire and security sector. And unfortunately, it's only going to get worse. The government are reporting that there's going to be a skill shortage of around 265,000 across all engineering disciplines over the next 3 years or so. So now really is the time to act, recruit more apprentices for your business, and actually support the sustainability of your sector over the next 5 to 10 years. Now we're going to look just briefly at the apprenticeships we offer, and more specifically the FES apprenticeship, which is the Fire, Emergency and Security Systems apprenticeship. Our largest apprenticeship we offer is the Technical Fire and Security apprenticeship, and it's going to be the basis of what we talk about today, obviously. However, it's important not to ignore the back office staff and the development opportunities that are out there available to you and to them. Using apprenticeships will help you retain and develop your staff, regardless if it's the frontline engineers or the back office customer service and managers that you need to develop. One very important point to note is that we now have 15 tutors enrolled at Skills for Security, as I mentioned previously, and all of them have extensive experience in the sector that they teach in, whether that be FES, management, customer service, or security officer services. All of our tutors have at least 15 plus years experience carrying out the role and are now qualified and competent teachers. Some of our management tutors have degrees up to master's level. And at Skills, what we are doing is we are growing our offerings out with the apprenticeships, and we're now all offering commercial technical training as well as the apprenticeship. And some of them that might be of interest to you are online CPD accredited courses, and they are short, sharp technical courses. They're fully online, so you enroll online, you complete the course online, and you receive your certificate remotely also as well. And we cover the courses in survey and design of fire alarm systems, intruder access, CCTV, and we also do advanced signalling and cyber security. And we're now really proud to offer the Fire Qual, owned by BAFE, Fire Fundamentals qualifications as well. So the Fire, Emergency and Security Systems Technical Apprenticeship is a level 3 accredited apprenticeship by the government. So it's accredited by the Institute of Apprenticeships and Technical Education. And what that means is that if you have an apprentice or put an apprentice through that course, they're walking away with a competency-based technical apprenticeship at the same level as electrical installation, joinery, welding, and many other of the technical apprenticeships out there. The Fire, Emergency and Security Systems apprenticeship has 3 specific pathways. We have the fire only pathway, the security only pathway, and the fire and security pathway. And we are seeing huge growth among all three separate pathways. It really is up to the employer and the student what pathway suits their skill sets best. All of our pathways are 3 years long, depending on if you have any prior qualifications and experience that you can use to get through the program quicker. But the quickest you can achieve the apprenticeship program is 1 year and 1 week, and that's a government rule. All of our apprentices that enroll on our program achieve an ECS card, and through the next 3 years of their development can work towards the ECS Gold card, which is the competency-based card that shows that you are a qualified individual and competent at your work. And our apprenticeship is unlike the old apprenticeship that many of you're familiar with, the framework. This apprenticeship was developed by industry for industry, and a number of employers out there came together to discuss what the needs of the industry were to develop an apprenticeship that really was fit for purpose. And back in the day, apprenticeships were viewed as just for those that left school, 16 to 19-year-olds. However, nowadays, apprenticeships really are inclusive, and they're for anyone from any age, of any background. And the government are fully supportive of getting more young people into skilled backgrounds and skilled careers. And there's a mixed range of how we deliver the apprenticeship programme. As I mentioned previously, we've got students from Dundee all the way to Portsmouth, and we've only got 4 or 5 centres just now where we're delivering training. So most of our training is delivered using hybrid models. We use innovative technologies to make sure that students get the highest quality learning and teaching that is available to them. And I would urge you to reach out to Skills to find out how we can develop your workforce through the apprenticeship. So now I'm just going to quickly take you through the 3-year cycle and what you can expect your apprentice to do whilst on programme. So they would start with an induction and a skill scan where we identify those strengths and weaknesses, and we then decide whether we're doing the course in 1 year and 1 week or 3 years and anything in between. Part of our apprenticeship programme is putting the young person through math and English if they didn't achieve that at school, so that everybody that does an apprenticeship walks away with at least a level 2 functional skills, maths and English qualification, as well as, of course, the ECS. They then spend the next period of time doing the learning and teaching. All of our learning and teaching is done on a block release basis, where students attend for 1 week at a time, and they attend every 10 weeks to receive that education. One of the things I would also add is that when an apprentice comes to us, we don't spend time doing the softer skills whilst they're in centre. When they come to centre and you invest that time and money in getting them there, they're sitting in front of a very experienced fire, emergency and security systems tutor to make sure that they get the whole week of technical knowledge and experience, learning about standards, learning about signalling, learning about wiring, and making sure that the time that they spend in centre is extremely valuable. Once they've done the teaching, they then move into the gateway, as we call it, which is getting them ready for the final assessment. And then they move forward into the endpoint assessment process. And that isn't assessed by Skills for Security staff. That's assessed by an external organisation, which is totally independent. And again, just adds another extra layer of quality to the learning and teaching that the students will do. They'll then get their feedback, pass marks, certification, and it goes through a whole qualification cycle. As I mentioned, the programme typically is 3 years. They attend for 5 blocks per year, and each block is a full week long. Each block, you're given a progress update and feedback on how the student's performing, how their behaviour was and what next steps they need to follow to improve. We use a mixture of blended learning, so they do a 1 week in class where they do theory for half the week and practical. We have our own bespoke workshop facilities that the students can use, and we've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds in the last couple of years buying in the top range equipment to make sure that students have the right panels and the right types of devices to install as part of their education. As I mentioned, we've got the 4 locations across the whole of the UK. The extra support that we give to students that others might not is that we put them all through the ECS card. We also have our own functional skills tutor, so that isn't an external resource that we have to provide. All of our students go through Cognisys, which is a learning support tool. So if any student has dyslexia or dyspraxia or any other learning difficulties, we're able to identify that from the day one and make sure that a development plan is put in place for all students. We don't just regularly skill scan the students at the start of the programme, but we do it every year. So if a student's progressing through the programme faster than we would expect, we can speed them up and get them through the apprenticeship at a pace that suits them rather than sticking to the 3 years. Every single 10 weeks, we do a one-to-one progress review, which the employer gets to see and sign off on. We obviously covered a little bit about the endpoint assessment previously, but a bit more detail on that. It's a 2-day assessment, so it's not a 30-minute, a 1-hour assessment to judge how they've done over 3 years. It's a full 2 days, and 1.5 of those days is taken up with a practical assessment. And if you've got a student that does the fire and security apprenticeship, they would need to install, maintain, commission, and hand over 5 separate systems. And the systems that they're working on just now are Pyronics Euros, Paxton, Hikvision cameras for the security. And when it comes to the fire, they're working on the Cheeky and Kentech addressable and conventional fire systems. And since January 2021, really proud to announce that we've got a 94% pass rate on our fire and security endpoint assessments. We've got a unique booking process where it's very similar to your driving test. As soon as you enroll on our apprenticeship programme, we give you a date for your endpoint assessment so that you know when you start the programme what your date is in 3 years' time. It means that you can mentally prepare and start to work towards that as an end goal. What we want to achieve in the apprenticeship is, in year 1, the goal is to develop the apprentice so that they can do simple tasks for your organisation. And what we mean by that is if you ask them to fit a PIR or a smoke detector camera, they're able to do that under little to no guidance or supervision. And how we achieve that is through a mixed blend of theory and practical. When it comes to theory, we're delivering health and safety and installation practices. We're teaching them about the regulations and cabling containment, so BS 7671. And when it comes to practical, we're teaching them about the first and second fix of all the different disciplines. In second year, the goal is to teach the apprentices how to do technical tasks. And in here, what we're trying to cover is how to install control equipment, program, survey and design systems. And also when it comes to theory, we're now teaching them more about the standards, codes of practice surrounding the different disciplines. And in the final year, this, in my opinion, is where we turn these apprentices into fully fledged engineers for your organisation, because we're teaching them the technical tasks that you would expect them to do. And in that, what we're covering is things like the processes and procedures for commissioning, maintenance, fault finding, and also auditing systems. And there's a fantastic project we do in signalling where we get the students to connect up the fire alarm systems and also the intruder to things like CSL Dualcom. And we send live signals from our site to a live ARC. So it means that the students need to phone up and put the system on test. They need to check that the signals are sending through. And then if there's any faults or rectification needed, they would come back into the centre, make those changes, and then test the signals again. One of our newer projects, and just to recap on that is the Fire Emergency and Security Systems Apprenticeship as a whole. It's very, very popular, as I said. We have 400 apprentices in Skills for Security just now, and the majority of them do sit within the FES. Some of the other projects that we've been working on recently is into the management, and we do have a number of students enrolled on our team leader and supervisor apprenticeship and the security first line manager. And if you have staff within your team that you want to develop and bring on, a number of our install companies are now enrolling engineers that are progressing really well onto our management apprenticeships, because it can be done remotely. The majority of the work is done by the students whilst they're working on site. And it's been proven to be very, very popular in retaining staff, especially engineers that are hard to come by just now. And some of the things that you can expect your engineers to do whilst on that programme is around strategy, setting KPIs for their team, developing their own workforce, and also managing projects whilst also problem solving. So I would highly recommend that you look into that type of apprenticeship and developing and retaining your workforce. Funding in England or any industry can be complicated, but there is funding available for your apprentices. And the most your business will pay for an apprentice is a 5% contribution fee. So to put that in context, if you have an £18,000 apprenticeship course, the most you would pay is £900 over the whole 3 years. That's not per year, that's over the full 3 years. So on average, it's costing your business about £300 to take on an apprentice each year. And we don't know how long that's going to last. The government don't always support apprenticeships as much as this, but because of COVID and the ongoing pandemic, we are seeing government support and incentives at the highest levels they've ever been. And that concludes the presentation on apprenticeships. I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. And I would really be interested in any questions that you have on the apprenticeship programme or Skills for Security in general. And what I would also say is if anybody has any questions they would like to email, I'll happily share them externally at the end of the chat. Thanks very much for your time, and thank you.